10 இன்ச்சு முறுக்கு மந்த்ரா கடலை எண்ணெயில நானே பண்ணுது. ஒரு சேலஞ்ச், உங்களால இந்த மாதிரி முறுக்கு செய்ய முடியுமா? மந்த்ரா கடலை எண்ணெயில முறுக்கு செஞ்சு பாருங்க. ஓகே?
Well, good afternoon to all of you. And let me add my own gratitude to what Rani has said. Indeed, very grateful that notwithstanding the current ongoing parliament session, notwithstanding the fact that you have commenced your pre-budget preparations today, you have found time for a few minutes to be with us. So let me ask you the first question, that considering that all global indicators from global financial institutions, from the International Monetary Fund, from the World Bank, from Asian Development Bank, an independent assessment is that India, looking at the symmetry of its overall macroeconomic policy with ongoing structural reforms, is one of the brightest spots in the global economy at a time when there are geopolitical uncertainties and uncertainties of other kinds. How do you see not only the growth prospects for the current fiscal year, and sometimes one can get too bottled up with the current to lose sight of just beyond an episode. How do you see the growth prospects for the Indian economy this year and going beyond that in the medium term?
Thank you very much, and thank you, India-Japan Center, and also the Ananta Center to have me over again this year. I value this interaction, and I think quite a lot of things are discussed here which play in our minds when we are sitting around talking about policy. So there is no way in which this session is something which we would bypass, ignore, or even not give a keen attention to. So more than happy to be here. To the question, NK, if I can refer to you so. There's always this question about India. Do you think you'll be able to keep up the growth momentum? There's always this question about India. Is this sustainable? And immediately also this temptation to say, and right temptation to say, global growth is this way, global demand is that way, trade is happening this way. And despite all that, do you think you'll grow? Very legitimate concerns. And I would honestly concede that these are issues which we seriously take on board to see how best we can keep our position. The global situation is something which all of you are familiar with, but broad pointers is what I'm going to place here before you all. The demand globally, particularly of the developed countries, has tabled out. And if it is plateauing, prospects for India, like countries which depend so much on exporting, not just commodities like old age India or decades ago India, but today we are into big time exports of engineering goods, exports of well-processed goods, also high precision goods. So for us, if there is a plateauing of demand, particularly in developed countries, it's a matter of concern. Equally, for agriculture and its products, climate change is also bearing heavily upon us. We have a big market to take care of, and therefore agriculture and some commodities which have always found market globally, climate-related concerns weigh heavily, there's no doubt. Third, in traditional areas where we had strength, whether it is intensive labor-producing items, labor-intensive export items, whether it is textiles or lately well-developed into sophisticated manufacturing of footwear and so on, we still have a challenge because the demand, as I said, which is saturating, is not giving you the value addition. It's not giving that marginal additional benefit out of export. So if global consumption is plateauing, there is a concern. But equally, we see opportunities because not just newer markets, but even within these markets, there is also the shift in terms of production and therefore cost-cutting measures. And therefore, if technology is coming in one way, another is also looking at the cost of technologies itself. So India has opportunities as much as it has its share of challenges. But with all this said, and with the domestic market also now growing in terms of GDP and also in terms of PPP, if you look at it, the purchasing power of Indians is improving, but within India, you'll also have concerns about wages saturating. We are quite seized of these factors which might have a play on India's own consumption. But I can place before you similarities with 2019, an election year, with 2024, an election year, where the focus in the first quarter has gone for election and election management. So it's not just the political parties which are worried about elections and spend a lot of time in election management, but administrations, both of the state and of the center, give a lot of time in getting through with the electoral process. And natural governance related, public expenditure related activities come to the back burner. And as a result, that which will have to be a catalyst for triggering better consumption, more demand for core products and so on, sort of become slower, and which you saw in Q2 growth numbers. Q1, the election, but Q4, which was very good, had an impact on Q1. So the numbers were not alarming when you saw it. But Q2, when it slows down and when growth numbers are reflecting, we should put it in the context of an economy, a governance structure, which was all focused on election. And therefore, Q1's emphasis more on running the election through had a bearing on Q2. But I'm elaborating this just to say it's not a systemic slowdown. It is more absence of activity on public expenditure, capital expenditure, and so on. So I expect Q3 to also make up for all this. So the growth number is something which is not necessarily going to get badly affected. We need to also push up on very many other factors. So I would think India still, not just for this year, but for the next year as well, and the year after that also, very good chances and opportunities for India to remain as the fastest growing economy.